Good day, dear students. Today we shall continue listening to the lecture on the discipline, the theory of the language. The theme of today's lecture is the description of speech. The following questions will be discussed according to the plan. What are the main features of pronunciation, phonemes and allophones, three aspects of phoneme and their functions, phonemic transcription. In order to study how something works, it is often useful to break it down into its constituent parts. According to features of pronunciation, phonemes are divided into consonants and vowels. Consonants are divided into voiced and unvoiced consonants. Vowels into single vowels and diphthongs. Single vowels are divided into short and long single vowels. As for suprasegmental features, they are divided intonation and stress. Stress is divided into word stress and sentence stress. The speech sounds of language are instances that manifestations or realizations of its segmental phonemes. If we listen carefully to the t in let us and compare it with the t in let them, we can hear that the two sounds are also not the same. The t of let us is alveolar, while the t of let them is dental. In this next example, we can say tie and die, seed and seed. In the first place, we can say that t and d are two different sounds. In English, t being fortis, strong, and d being lenis, weak. Phonemes are the different sounds within a language, although there are slight differences in how individuals articulate sounds. We can still describe reasonably accurately how each sound is produced. When considering meaning, we see how using one sound rather than another can change the meaning of the word. It is this principle which gives us the total number of phonemes in a particular language. For example, the word red had the phonemes. If we change the middle phoneme, we get rot. A different word. If we pronounce or in a slightly different way, the word doesn't change, and we still understand that we mean the same thing. To make an analogy, our individual perceptions of colors may theoretically vary, but intuitively we know that we are likely to be thinking about more or less the same thing. We can both look at a green traffic light and understand its significance and how it differs from a red one. Vasiliev defined the phoneme like this. The segmental phoneme is the smallest language unit that exists in the speech of all the members of a given language community as such speech sounds which are capable of distinguishing one word from another word of the same language, or one grammatical form of a word from another grammatical form of the same word. For example, man, men, to differentiate words and the grammatical forms, and e. The actual speech sounds pronounced by the speaker or reader are variants or allophones of phonemes. Speech sounds which have some articulatory features and at the same time differ from each other in some degree are said to belong to one and the same phoneme if when they pronounced one instead of another are incapable of differentiating words or the grammatical forms of one and the same word. The alveolar position is particularly sensitive to the influence of the place of articulation of a following consonant, thus followed by the interdental th, the, it becomes dental. For example, lead the way. Lead, lead the way. Fricative, plosive, and aspirated. Since every phoneme has variants, allophones are divided into typical or principal and subsidiary in order to determine the principles of variant. The typical variant is free from the influence of neighboring speech sounds and other purely phonetic factors. The second representative variant of the phoneme had the greatest number of articulatory features among all the variants of the phoneme. For instance, the English phoneme T has 3 articulatory features, which are always present in all its allophones. These features are expressed in the following articulatory terms: folingual, occlusive, voiceless. They are considered to be important. This functionally relevant bundle of articulatory features is called the invariant of the phoneme. Neither of the articulatory features that form the invariant of the phoneme can be changed without affecting the meaning. For example, the words port and quart differ in one consonant only. This is the word port had the initial consonant p, and the word quart with k. Both sounds are occlusive and fortis. The only difference being that p is labial and k is backlingual articulations are relevant in the system of English consonants. The subsidiary variants of a phoneme are subdivided into 2 groups: combinatory and positional. Combinatory allophones are those which are clearly due to the influence of neighboring speech sounds and to the specific way in which neighboring sounds are joined together. For example, dental variants of the English folingual phonemes t, d, n, l, which are due to the assimilating influence of the following dental consonants. Positional allophones are those which are used in definite positions, traditionally according to the orthoepic norms of the language, rather than because of the clearly observable influence of neighboring sounds. A good example of a positional allophone is provided by the clear variant of the English phoneme L. For example, light, like. It should be also mentioned, judging by pronunciation, we can judge social state of person, his origin, his dialect, and so on. The phoneme is a dialectical unity of the following 3 aspects. The first one is the material, real, and objective. The second, abstractional and generalized. The third is functional. They are inseparably connected, fused with one another, and interdependent. The segmental phoneme has material aspect, that it exists in the form of number of articulatorily and acoustically definite speech sounds, its allophones, which all have several common articulatory and acoustic features constituting the material invariant of the phoneme. What is material is at the same time real. The phoneme is a reality. It is a linguistic reality because phonemes exist in actual speech and it exists independently on the will of individual persons. The second aspect consists in its abstracted and generalized character. It should be mentioned that each unit of language is an abstraction from and a generalization of actual utterances, that is, actual speech. The third aspect of the phoneme is Its functionality is reflected in the definition of the phoneme as the smallest language unit capable of differentiating words and their grammatical forms. The distinctive function is the principal function of the phoneme. As such, depending on which units of language higher than the phoneme, morpheme, word, sentence are differentiated from each other. Sometimes the position of phonemes serves to distinguish the meaning of the whole phrases. For example, he was hurt badly. He was hurt badly. The distinctive function may be subdivided into morpheme distinctive or word distinctive and sentence distinctive. Inseparable from the distinctive function and actually forming its basis is the constitutive function of phonemes. Depending on which units of language higher than the phoneme, that is morpheme, word, sentence, are constituted by speech sounds. The third function is recognitive or identificatory. It consists in making words with their grammatical forms and therefore whole sentences easily recognizable and consequently intelligible as the result of the use of the right allophones in the right places. Sounds may be voiced or unvoiced, sometimes voiceless. Voiced sounds occur when the vocal cords in the larynx are vibrated. If you are producing a voice sound, you will feel vibration. If you are producing an unvoiced sound, you will not. The difference between f and v, for example, can be heard by putting your top teeth on your bottom lip, breathing out in a continuous stream to produce f, then adding your voice to make v. The set of phonemes consists of two categories: vowel sounds and consonant sounds. However, these do not necessarily correspond to the vowels and consonants we are familiar with in the alphabet. Vowel sounds are all voiced and may be single, like as in let, or a combination involving a movement from one vowel sound to another, like a, as in late. Such combinations are known as diphthongs. An additional term used is triphthongs, which describes the combination of three vowel sounds, like hour, in hour, or power. Single vowel sounds may be short, like I, as in bit, or long, like E, as in beat. The symbol of long denotes a long sound. Semidots. Consonant sounds may be voiced or unvoiced. It is possible to identify many pairs of consonants which are essentially the same except from the element of voicing. For example, f as in fan and v as in van. The following table lists English phonemes, giving an example of a vowel word in which each appears. Phonemes are units of sound which we can analyze. They are also known as segments. Suprasegmental features, as the name implies, are features of speech which apply to groups of segments or phonemes. The features which are important in English are stress, intonation, and how sounds change in connoted speech. With regard to individual words, we can identify and teach word stress. Usually one syllable in a word will sound more prominent, than the others, as in paper or bottle. The stresses in words are usually indicated in dictionaries. With regard to utterances, we can analyze and teach intonation as well as stress. Although as features, they can at times be quite hard to recognize and to describe. Stress gives rhythm to speech. One or more words within each utterance are selected by the speaker as worthy of stressing, and this made prominent to the listener. Intonation is the way in which the pitch of the voice goes up and down in the course of an utterance. The term utterance is used rather than sentence, as it refers to anything we say, including grammatically incomplete sentences, and to different ways of saying the same sentence. Utterance stress and intonation patterns are often linked to the communication of meaning. When writing in English, we use 5 vowel and 21 consonant letters. When speaking English, we typically use 20 different vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds. In some languages, there is essentially a one-to-one relationship between spelling and pronunciation, and there will be the same number of phonemes used in the language as there are letters in the alphabet. The lack of a one-to-one relationship between spelling and pronunciation in English presents learners with many problems. A typically cited example is the pronunciation of owl, which has at least 8 distinct sound patterns attached to it.